Okay, I'd like to call to order the Conservation Advisory Council for the town of Niskayuna. This is the August 6th, 2025 meeting. Laura, could you please call the roll?
In the room, we have Daniel McPherson, Ellen Daviero, Ashok Ramasubramanian, Chuck Petrowski, Chairman Dart Strayer, and online we have Georgia Murray Bonton and Clark Henry.
Great, thanks. So before the board, we have the minutes of June 4th, 2025. And did anybody have any additions, changes, or modifications to the meeting minutes? Okay. Georgia,
You
are
can
you
email
okay?
it to me.
I can hear you. Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Are you okay with the minutes?
I didn't hear the call. Yes, I'm fine with the minutes.
Okay.
Actually, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I'm not sure if I should vote on them.
Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as written.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of adopting the minutes? Aye.
Yeah, Georgia, do you want to abstain?
Georgia, do you want to abstain?
He needs to restart.
I am abstaining. I wasn't at the meeting and I haven't reviewed them in full, so I'm abstaining from voting.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. Okay, so let the record show that the minutes were approved by all, but Georgia abstained. Are we okay with the video?
So Z's gonna restart the video. I did start the recording though
Okay.
of the, I mean, it's not great, but we'll have this meeting here if we ever need to upload it.
Okay. All right.
Dart, for Trish, when she does the minutes, could you just repeat who who made the first and who seconded the motion?
I can do that. Yeah. Okay, privilege of the floor. We have in the audience Steve Nesson that would like to address the board. You can come up to the podium, state your name, address, and the floor is yours.
Yes, name is Stephen Nissen. I live at 782 Westmoreland Drive on Avon Crest Town Park with my wife. We've been there since 2005. I have spoken to Ashok previously, and I know this is probably something that needs to get approved by the Ray Smith and the Parks Department, but I would like to do 4 things: add bluebird boxes, remove some invasive species, plant some native bushes, and reduce the mowed area is 4 things. And I emailed this to Ray Smith some time ago, and I plan to go to the meeting tomorrow morning to talk to him about that. And I did email this information to Laura, whatever, a week or 2 ago, something like that. So the only thing I have to, so those are the things I'd like to do. And I don't know if there's any approvals that need to happen other than Ray Smith or anything different. I would certainly, I'm open to listen to any advice, and go from there. I have met with Roy Thornton, who he did the bluebird boxes at the, so I met with him maybe 2 weeks ago. He looked at the site and he said, looks like a very good site for it. The problem being is that, the town park, the south end is vacant, it's all grassland, and the other end is developed with a softball field and tennis courts and the like, and we live towards the south end. So that's where I would propose to put the bluebird boxes in. The only possible, a snag I could see is that they do need to be 50 feet from wooded areas. So that could make an issue for mowing. So, but that's what I was going to ask Ray Smith tomorrow's meeting, and to see what he had to say. So, and I think the last thing is about doing any work to the park, what I need to do to get, if I need to get a permit or whatever to it's done by hand, digging holes and removing Japanese honeysuckle and the like. So that's the other thing. So I was really here to just say what I want to do, and to see if there's any advice or anything else you could add to this.
Do we have a picture, do we have a picture of the area of where you're?
Well, it's Avon Cresttown Park, so your best thing is just look at Google Maps, and you'll see where 782 is. It's right across from the basketball court, and obviously, I know in the past, being there, we've been there a long time, that the fields to that side were used for volleyball tournaments. So I certainly don't want, and somebody could say, oh, no, we're still going to have volleyball tournaments. They haven't had them in a long time, other than a few, families playing volleyball. So, but it used to be quite big, and I don't want to make it a hazard for anybody if they want to play volleyball. And but I would say it'd be a good thing, and the unmowed area would be adjacent to that, would be the western edge to the south. Probably from, say, 50 or 100 feet, whatever that was convenient. And that's where the bluebird boxes that would go, somewhere in there.
So I have a question. You said that there's the Japanese honeysuckle is the invasive species that you're concerned about?
Well, here's the thing. So I do a lot of invasive species work, but it's loaded. I did write in my email, but basically Japanese honeysuckle, buckthorn, bittersweet, vinca would be probably and multiflora rose would be the most notorious, invasives.
And how would you propose to remove?
Well, I've been, like, my own house had a whole bunch of stuff like, burning bush and stuff like that, and over the years, most are easy to rip out by hand. If I needed to if there was a buckthorn tree, I have had the town cut down a few trees that were hazardous to my fence and property over the years because they were damaged or whatever, and they were agreeable. If that's something I need to ask them to do, but buckthorn can be cut down, and you can put, the buckthorn bag over it, the baggie, and it stops the sprouting of it. It's a common practice. But most buckthorn, and most of these are small enough that they can just be removed with, by hand. We have a tool called the weed wrench, which it's this big, and basically it's a set of jaws, and when you put it on the root, the roots are very shallow. It rips right out, and then you just dispose of it in the not in the garbage, but in the yard waste.
Do you ever envision using any pesticides or herbicides in this process?
No, I would not do that. So, no, it'd just be, it's like our lawn is pesticide free and herbicide free, so I would just do the same thing. You can win, it just takes a lot of time.
So I don't know if it's helpful or not, but I feel like the Conservation Advisory Council could, offer to support to the efforts, so that when he speaks to the Highway Department, he could say that CAC is behind the efforts, supportive of the efforts.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to things that we've been doing at Flatneck Park, it sounds like to me.
Yeah, no, actually, I think removing the invasive species in the way you proposed would be extremely beneficial to the park. I think adding native species, what type of species are you talking about?
Well, I'm
Wildflowers, are you talking about trees? Or
no, it would normally be plants that are beneficial to, like, pollinators, butterflies, that type of thing. But I wouldn't plant trees. I would be planting bushes. And the bushes, hazelnut is a great one. Let me think here. Clethra is a nice native one. Blueberries are a nice native one. But I've been working a lot with Saratoga Plan, as they do weekly stuff like this. They remove stuff. So I would I'm an engineer, not a botanist. So I would certainly try and get a little bit of input from I have a few friends, like Chris Williams is the head of the PRISM, you know, the invasive species for the area. I would definitely get, or from Saratoga Plant or Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy. I know them quite well, so I would probably try and get some. Look, a good-sized bush costs money, so, but the idea would be, you know, if you could plant a 5 or 7-year-old, you could probably get it donated by Saratoga Nursery or in some of these not fattings. They don't have a lot of native plants, but somebody like that. So we've done that in the past. Not here, but.
Does anybody have comments or anything?
So one, definitely all for it. So you're turning it from a mowing to no mow.
Well, I would take obviously, the whole thing could be used by families to play volley, but you could still have a big volleyball tournament. But I was thinking starting on a small scale, maybe 50 or 75 feet, going from, south of the basketball court, down to the south. That's.
Towards Buckingham, is that south?
Exactly, towards Buckingham. So that, it's like, if anybody walks over there, and I go out there every day, and honestly, not every day, but every day or two, and pick up garbage or whatever on the basketball court, and, if you see anybody use that, it's not frequently used.
So when I'm looking at it and I see the playground, is that, and I see the volleyball, so you're talking along that back side?
Yeah, along would be the west side of that,
Okay.
the Westmoreland side of that.
Okay, so I'm definitely all for invasive species. When I met with Ray, so I have walked Blatnick Park with Roy and
Yeah.
with and I'm forgetting
Andrew.
Ray, and is Andrew his son? Yeah. So
Yeah.
with him, and all of the problems that I kept butting up against was that a lot of getting rid of the invasive species required special permits from DEC once they got to a special size, and that they also had to then
Yeah.
be taken someplace special because they were invasive. So they have this process that they do
Yeah.
or don't do, or however it works. So that was sort of what I was told.
Yeah.
And then, but I'm definitely for getting rid of invasive species and adding more, native back there, and any way that we can do that.
No, that's why I'm here. I'm just a one person and I've spoken to a lot of people and been involved, but you get rid of Japanese knotweed, you can't give it to yard waste. It's heinous, it's dangerous. You have to kill the stuff, in black bags before then you throw it in the trash, so so I'm familiar with that, but even with the DEC, with Japanese honeysuckle, it was just taken as yard waste, but I can certainly, that's why I'm here, but I would check, I've got all the time in the world nothing's happened yet, so.
Yeah,
to
no,
make- But I appreciate, that's a good comment, I don't know, and I did talk to Roy Thornton, we walked around, he was like, oh my God, look at all this, every one I just mentioned, he
Right,
was like.
yeah.
So, but I'll start with that, and and I work with the DEC all times in my own stuff, projects with Trout Unlimited, so we could certainly, happy to, before we did anything that didn't work out, that was not right.
Yeah, and I do know that just this past spring, Roy Thornton, he built bluebird houses with. He had a whole bunch of bluebird houses that he wanted to construct. So we linked him up to with a Boy Scout group, and so those Boy
Yeah.
Scouts assembled those. And he thought he had more than what he needed for over at Black.
Yeah, he offered probably enough. I would probably start with 4. He offered those to me. I would
Yeah.
probably have to buy a pole. Who cares? Like a
Yeah,
pole
yeah,
and a
yeah.
baffle perhaps. But it's I've done
Yeah.
this before, so it's not a big deal. But he offered. He said he had extras.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I probably am all set
Okay.
there.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And going back to the low mow
Yeah.
like you know, the town recently, we completed the second phase of the natural resources inventory. And one of the recommendations was to have more of these areas which are not mowed by the town. And in addition to being environmentally friendly and all that, it also has a lot of cost benefits to the town. And separately, we did the greenhouse gas inventory, and the person who made the presentation, Jim Yeager, right? He also mentioned that there is greenhouse gas reductions and cost savings for the town for every acre that is not mowed. So, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Like working through Roy Thornton over a number of years, there is a kind of a compromise between the needs of the disc golf people and the needs for meadow birds and their nesting habitats out there in Blatning Park. It took a number of iteration, and Roy presented some maps of where to mow and where not to mow. I think, who did the maps? Okay, Ellen presented some maps.
So what happened was Niskayuna's Parks decided to put in a frisbee golf course, and because it is put in by the town, and it was supposed to be maintained by the town, but Roy and the mowing were not always linked up to understanding the paths. So the guy who helped Niskayuna many years ago design it, he and I got together and we walked it, and then he sent them a mowing map, and he said he would ride with them so that all they have to do is mow the map so that people can use the disc golf, because we were trying to limit the mowing and maximizing the disc golf thing. So that's sorry.
That's
But Roy
fine.
and I definitely walked, and Roy was the one who pointed out all the invasive species.
And thank you for that clarification, Ellen. It's a necessary clarification. And so we already have a precedent for like disc golf and the low mow kind of coexisting. So I don't see why we can't have a volleyball place for those families that need it, and have some wildflowers and nesting bird habitats, and save the town some money by not. That looks like a pretty sizable chunk on the map right there. So, so Chairman, would you be open to having a quick vote on being supportive of Mr. Neeson's proposals?
I would. I'd like to have a little more discussion on this, though.
Okay.
I want to make sure everybody has weighed in, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Steve, for coming and sharing this idea with us. And I just want to be clear, this is still an idea that you're presenting to the town. And your next step after presenting this idea to us is to talk with the Parks Department. And I think while the Conservation Council clearly supports the removal of invasive, well, I clearly support the removal of invasive, replacing with anything that's native and or supportive of the pollinators. My concern here is this is still a park that is used by the community in ways that we're not sure about. I know you live there, you probably have all the data, but I would have to defer to the parks team as to whether, how much impact your plan would have on reducing free and open space for people to play. And we've played soccer over there, things like that, or the little kids have the soccer practice. So I'd want to hear that. The second piece I'd want to know more about before I would entertain a vote on this is just a plan. You've come to us with ideas, which is great. We've tossed around a bunch of names of plants and things that we want to do.
Right.
Still a little vague for me. My concern is that I'm sure there'd be a step-by-step process the town will go through to give you the right to change the landscape in a public park, so we have to follow that. Once I understand what that plan is and what is going to be swapped in and out, then I think I'd be more comfortable, Chairman, with voting on something. No doubt I favor the idea. I am concerned that taking away free and open space in this part of town, this is the only free and open space, might be concerning. But I also think what you're trying to accomplish is a wonderful thing. So I would like to hear more from the parks, what they think about this, and then I'd like to see more details on the plan, and that includes resources, timeline, and how the town would go about supporting this or not supporting it, as the case might be. Thank you.
Okay, great. Daniel, do you have anything you want to add on this? or-
Follow that. No, I think that's well said. You have to balance these two. Now that you're bringing it up, I'd like to hear that too.
Okay, so Georgia, do you have anything you want to add?
No, that was pretty comprehensive, you know, and I agree, a plan would be useful for the plantings especially.
So what I've heard, and correct me if I'm overstating this, I think that the council is supportive of your proposal on a high-level general thing, that putting birdhouses in there, taking up invasive species in a natural way that doesn't use pesticides or herbicides, adding native species, and advocating LOMO are all objectives of this committee. I think, though, what I'm hearing is that we need to coordinate, or you need to coordinate with the park committee of the town of Niskayuna, and you probably need to get some sort of input with the residents to make sure that we're not overstepping what they want. I mean, I think from a step forward, I think we can get a lot of support. I think there's a lot of support in the community, but I think you sort of need that support there, because you really don't want to backlash. And then the last thing I just happen to notice is if we did LOMO back there, that I would appreciate to keep public access in a mowed path from, what is that, Stratford?
Stratford, but no, I wouldn't advocate doing the whole thing because the park is still used.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think if we coordinate this with some of the stakeholders, I think there's definitely things in the positive motion, you know, positive direction here. So if people agree with that, maybe we can put together a motion of support with some caveats. Would you like to do that? Sure.
Put together a motion?
Would you, yeah, support, a motion of support.
Laura wanted to say something.
Well, I was just gonna say, I can help you make a map if you want. So, and what I heard, just so you guys understand, is here's the basketball court. So I think he's talking about a Lomo strip along the
Yeah.
trees between the basketball court, like here, not taking the whole thing.
Yeah, just take
the little
take
strip,
it like, because.
kind of like we have on Botany Park.
Bluebird boxes need to be 50 feet out, more or less, from wooded areas, so they would, and they need to be separated, your pair. So
Yeah.
that's meeting with Roy Thornton and reading the National Bluebird, requirements. But I would just really think something like this, because this gets still used occasionally for volleyball. There are still, there's stuff going on, not that often, but this rarely gets used in here.
Yeah, the width of that is about 300 feet.
Right, so that was it, and then,
Yeah.
with regard to removal of invasive species, it's like, they're all in the woods.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like you're taking any more apart from them, you're not reducing anything.
Yep.
You're replacing something that is there today with something that's good.
Oh, yeah, no,
So that you wouldn't lose any stuff. Yeah, but no, I don't think, look, I'm in a bunch of boards, you don't need to do a motion. I think this is just, it's good information, and I think tomorrow I can meet with Ray Smith. I really did this because Mr. Smith, it takes time to get a hold of him, so that's why. And I wanted to get some good ideas from people here, so when I go to the meeting tomorrow morning, I can say, yeah, well, we talked about that, or this, because they're all good, all have good points. So, you're supportive, that's great. I think we're all supportive, but it's just an idea. It's nothing more than that, so you don't need to put anything.
Well, what I was going to propose is just a very high level support of the actions,
Yeah.
coordinating with the town. And that the specifics
Yeah.
need to be worked out with the stakeholders.
Totally.
I just think that that might help
Okay.
facilitate things, if the board was willing to do that. I kind of thought that
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
I think that clarifying that you want to take the invasive species out of that, of what, of the whatever, what is considered woods and replacing it is, is a good clarification. And also, there is a distinction between parks and highway. So Ray is highway, so they mow the parks, but
Right.
but there is a, like,
Yeah.
separate person, I apologize, I don't know the person's name right off the top of my head who's in charge of the parks. Andrew, sorry, yeah. So, yeah, so that both those, are two entities that, sorry.
And Steve, could you tell a little bit about you talked about the length of your proposed low-mow. Could you talk about your proposed width?
Well, I would say at least, I would say at least 50 feet, because that's the bluebird boxes, is about 50 feet. You probably want to do 60 feet by the length, which I think is 800 feet, something like that. So it's really not that substantial. I mean, what's 60 times 800 is what, it's only 48, 10 times 800 is 10,000, or 10 times, that is, 10 times 800 would be 8,000. So if you did 6 times that, that's 48,000, that's an acre. It's whatever, 43,560. So that, but I agree with Laura. I can, it's hard for anybody to make a distinction without, if you put something on a map, it's a lot easier to see. And again, I just walked it with Roy. That's all we did. We walked it and pasted it off, so we have a good idea of what it is. So, but we haven't really put it on a map. So if it comes to it, it's easy enough to put on a map.
Just something you can offer them, that I'm
Right.
happy to work with you to make a map so
Right.
that it's clear.
Yeah, and again,
And I would make one suggestion for the map that you're making, Laura. To maintain community engagement in the area, maybe addressing that point as well, you could put a walking path through the no-mow area and areas where people could sit on a bench. And then that would encourage people to enjoy the no-mow area like another feature of the park.
Mhm.
Okay, so what do we want to do here? Ashok, did you want to make a motion, or?
Make a general motion to be broadly supportive of the idea at a bird's eye view point of view, but also acknowledging Chuck's excellent point that the specifics need to be ironed out and community input needs to be taken into consideration.
Okay. Are people happy with that motion of support?
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
Does somebody want to second that?
Second?
Okay, all in favor of high-level support of the general principles here, but we have work to do?
Aye.
What?
Aye?
Oh,
Aye.
Daniel made the second, sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you, Ellen. Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, the support carries. I
Good,
hope-
thank you.
I wish you well.
yeah, well, we'll start tomorrow. I mean, it's the first day, I'll
Yes.
talk to, I'll find out tomorrow morning. Maybe we'll get some more requirements, or we'll
Yeah.
move forward. I mean, honestly, the invasive species part is so easy because you're not changing anything. You're just getting rid of something bad and replacing it. And it doesn't, it affects everybody positively. I
Yeah.
don't know how you get any feedback. Taking some of the park, that's another story, and I'm totally aware. Maybe it's too difficult to mow or whatever, and that's a whole nother story. So it could be broken into two things.
Yep.
The way I see it, and and then one may be a lot more difficult than the other to accomplish, but at least you could accomplish one pretty straightforward.
If you're willing to take this on, I think
Yeah.
it's really commendable,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. It's a constant battle.
And, Roy Thornton, he's really fond of those grassland birds, and like he took this on, and he's been like really persistent over the years. And now the results are remarkable, so we wish you
Good.
similar luck.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
All right.
you.
Bye-bye.
John, did you want to address us? I do. Okay.
My name is John Gansfuss. I live at 2162 Stuyvesant Street, which is about 1 block north of St. David's Lane. I have just some information I want to share with you. Some of you are already aware of this. The Hudson Mohawk Bird Club owns the Rice Sanctuary, and their primary interest is in birds. They are not primarily interested in owning land. So they have started preliminary discussions with the Hudson Mohawk Land Conservancy about possibly transferring the land over to the Conservancy. And that is one way to make the land stay forever wild. Initially, they were talking about maybe they could turn over to the town, but they can't do that according to their deed because they might lose the forever wild standing. So I wanted to make sure that the council was aware that there's going to be a work day out of the Kelly Center, Union College Kelly Center at Rice Preserve on Saturday, September 6th. At that time, there's going to be a walk through Rice Preserve with the president of the Bird Club and some people from the Land Conservancy. And I understand that the town has also been invited. They welcome the town. Dart, we've talked about that. Laura, maybe even the town supervisor. Also wanted to make you aware that a number of members of the nearby community, including myself, are looking into maybe starting up a Friends of Rice Sanctuary to help with some of the maintenance out there. I just ran into somebody today who was putting some pallets out in some of the wet areas. I never knew who put those pallets out there, which the Land Conservancy wasn't excited about when they first saw that. But anyway, we're going to be starting to do this, and I'm sure the council will keep you apprised. Maybe you want to get directly involved with that as well. It's not a lot of work, but there's some bridges that have to be reconstructed. They were originally built by Eagle Scout projects, early 2000s, and a couple of them are in need of repair. As far as, getting workers, there's a lot of volunteers in the area, and if we'd have to do some fundraising for, say, the lumber to build the bridges or the boardwalks, that's been done in the past, so it'd be part of an effort that hopefully CAC would help back us on that. Okay, I also have some comments based on, I'm done with that. Any questions?
So could you repeat the date, please?
September 6th, Saturday. I don't have the time yet, and I think that you might be on the mailing list or on the phone contact list.
I mean, I have been talking with the Mohawk Land Conservancy, but I haven't heard of that date. So no, I would say no, I'm not on it.
Okay, well, I will pass it on when I hear, and again, remind them to get the town directly involved. Because in particular, the Land Conservancy was very concerned with all the accesses. It's an urban sanctuary, and they weren't crazy about that idea, but I'm sure a compromise could be worked out, because I think it's a pretty good idea. Anything else?
Just a point of question, point of clarification. Is the Mohawk Land Conservancy the same group that takes care of Leisha Kill? No. Okay, those are different groups. Nature Conservancy, all right.
Yeah, and one of the cool things is that the Land Conservancy just opened up a new preserve, Alplaus Kill, just a couple weeks ago, and that was the first preserve they have in Schenectady County. So that's another motivation for them to maybe take over Rice. That'll give them a second one. Okay.
So, Chuck, sorry to interrupt. So, just to provide some quick context, I'm a former board member of the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy. So they're basically the Nature Conservancy at a local level, and they are the land trust for 3 counties, Albany County, Schenectady County, and Montgomery County.
Thank you.
Okay. I have also comments on the previous speaker. Just looking at the map there, I just wanted to bring to your attention that that particular area of Avon Crest Park was actively used by the young lacrosse teams practicing early season, and when you look at a map, make sure you take into account the terrain, the topography, because land in this area does not dry out real quickly in the early spring when the snow melts. And that might be some of the highest, best land there for soccer or for lacrosse. So keep that in mind as you make your decision. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. All right, we have anybody online for us? No. Okay, so let's go to the EAFs, and the first EAF is 2025-09, that's 3406 Consul Road, and it is a site plan and special use permit for a place of worship in a single-family home. However, that home is located off Albany Street. It's included in our map. So, places of worship are allowed in this is R2, and they require a special use permit, okay? The planning board had several comments about this particular project, primarily concerning parking. That was a concern, and the intensity of use. So Laura, do you have any other information you'd like to add?
Not really. This is just a beginning, like put it on your radar. The only map that came in time for your packet is just the survey of the existing conditions. So the planning board packet does now have a plan that kind of marks out more parking, but it's really not complete yet. Clark and I think that it, like we'll go through it with the engineer, but it's likely that it needs variances from the zoning board of appeals because the lot's too small. And we're still, we're getting more details as they come in. They just came in for the planning board packet, not in time of the CAC, like more details about how many families come, how many events they have every year, that kind of thing. It is an unusual request. Normally, religious worshiping is in an independent building, so this is like a combined use, which to my knowledge, we haven't seen in the town before. We're just gonna go through the process step by step and see where it lands. It's obviously a very small and tight lot, although we really don't get complaints about it, maybe one neighbor.
So, I just had just a general question, so like currently it's not being used for religious events.
So it currently does. It was kind of, at first it's Buddhist, so there's a monk. And at first the monk just kind of moved here. Then we were unsure, because religion is one of the most protected classes in, New York State. But, there was a sign that said the monk lives here, but did they really have services? It was really unclear. They did a bunch of upgrades to their property, and now it's, very clear that they're having services every week, and that they may have these bigger kind of celebration holidays. And, because of the regularity and because, of the signage, we're trying to treat them like it's classified. I think it's the religious worship is the special use permit. But yeah, it is obviously it's actually pre-existing non-conforming single-family home right now. It's too close to the lot line.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
So more data needs to come in, and it definitely is a different type of review than we've ever done before. But yeah, so there's a Buddhist monk. They have services every Sunday, and then they have holidays. And they say that the biggest time they have 3 to 15 families. Well, 15 families is quite a lot of people, especially if they're bigger families. So we're just trying to figure out if it can fit there and work, and if they can share parking, or if it's really just too tight. Something we're working through with them.
Okay, so currently, because I was just wondering if they were perhaps, thinking of using another place off-site for the larger events? Or,
I mean, that's a really good question for them. I guess they've held them there already, but maybe that would be a good compromise if they hold them off-site. Yeah, that might be something we could bring up. I don't think they filled out an environmental impact form yet, so we still have to get that from them. And we still need the details of the parking, and we're working with their site plan engineer because we do think it'll probably have to be denied. We don't think there's any ability to do waivers here, so it's just beginning. But if you want to drive by, or that's a really good comment. We'll put it in the agenda statement. Just things to explore because it's pretty tight against the neighbors, so things. How does it affect the neighborhood? That kind of thing.
okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments about this particular project at this time? I'm assuming we'll get a lot more detail.
Yeah, it's just a timing thing. I mean, almost all the detail came in, the day after your packets was posted. But yeah, we'll bring way more detail back next month.
Do we have any precedent or resources on whether turning any building, whether it's a residence or a business building, into a house of worship constitutes a change in the character of the neighborhood?
I can't think. So occasionally, single-family homes do get converted into professional offices if the zoning allows. There's not that much zoning in Niskuna really, but a way to think about that is Union Street actually, like Lower Union Street in the city of Schenectady. A fair amount of those single-family homes got converted to chiropractors and stuff like that. This zoning, the R2 zoning, does allow for houses of worship on 2 acres. This is really a lot smaller. And if it was 2 acres, it'd almost be a non-issue, really, because you could.
Minimum of 2 acres?
A minimum of 2 acres, yeah. So, but yeah, this one it's kind of like it organically became a house of worship, but changing the character of the neighborhood. There's no other thing like that on Albany Street that I can think of, and I don't know of any particular cases we have, so it might be something that you guys would have to figure out with your
Thank you.
recommendation. Yeah. The thing which we will get more information on is that the single-family home, I actually think, is basically just staying a single-family home. There's a garage, which is down here, which I think is where the ceremonies are generally speaking held. So it's 2 uses. It'll be, I think, always a single-family home. There's someone that lives there, the monk lives there, and then he can have the services in the adjacent, or he's requesting to have the services in the adjacent it's labeled forums area in your map, but I've never been there. The building inspectors have been there a couple times. So more to come. It's
Sorry, do you know the proposed timeline? When would
It hasn't really been mapped out yet. Because it's so different and new, it's gone to the planning board for a couple times for questions. This is the first time it's, coming to you guys. But I mean, I would basically characterize it right now as an incomplete package. So I guess it's good to be thinking about it. It's a different type of, we don't really have precedents here. We'd potentially be working on setting a precedent. So it's just, but yeah, until you have all the information, we haven't really set out a timeline. And it could be very lengthy because if it needs a zoning board approval for the size of the lot and a special use permit from the town board, I mean, you're probably talking about almost a year, really. Yeah.
And this Hirschberg and Hirschberg, are they the agents for the applicant?
Yeah. When we get more, we can certainly invite the applicant to come when we have more information from them. There is a language barrier that we try to work through. Yeah.
One quick thought that comes to my mind is like, when they say the range is between 3 and 15 families,
It's a huge range.
that is a,
Yeah, no, planning board, same concern. So we're trying to nail down the number of people. 15 families may mean 15 cars, but, you know, there's big families and small families. Could be a whole range.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of people.
I think Laura's comment that it's basically an incomplete package at this point is very good, because there's been a lot of things talked about at those planning board meetings, like potentially shared parking, but it's all very top level. No one knows, do those sites have parking spaces to share? There's been no talk about whether those places are actually open when the various services and events are being held. So there's been a lot of kind of ambiguity to the presentation. A little bit like, what was presented about Avon Crest, the idea of putting it on a drawing so you can really see it. There's been various things talked about, and I think the planning board is asking for a little more specificity on the application. So that's what the planning board and the CAC should be seeing in subsequent meetings.
Okay. Any other comments about this particular project? Okay, hearing none, I suggest we move on to the second EAF. This is EAF 2025-10, zoning code amendments to the zoning code of Niskiuna. And this is brought to us from the town, and one of the drivers of this is that Niskiuna does not have a lot of daycare to support its population, and that sort of has come up several times, so the town is just looking into that. And they did a quick look of what other communities are doing, and it's really just an attempt to take a look at it and perhaps bring us more in line with the neighboring communities. So Laura, would you like to go through it?
So the main thing we're really looking at was originally we were looking at child care centers and independent buildings in the residential zones. I don't think we're talking about like single family homes being converted into independent buildings. Generally speaking, when people are running child cares in their single family homes, they're licensed with the state and not subject to our zoning code. But there are a number of properties around that maybe in the past would have been used as an office building, but people really aren't building office buildings anymore. And because we have such a lack of daycare, and it seems as though the real pinch is between 0 to 2 years old. Those types of daycares are not typically, they're not typically schools and things, like they're pretty specialized. So a lot of times those are in their own independent building. So to make our world more friendly to daycare centers, Clark made a matrix of child daycare where it's allowed in the zoning. It's allowed in many places within schools, hospitals, or places of worship. Although one thing we did hear is that sometimes them being located in a place of worship can be a disincentive to certain people to bring their kids to those certain places. So sometimes independent buildings are what's being looked after. And then sometimes they're allowed in mixed-use buildings, or in the case of GE, I don't think it's still there, but it used to have its own daycare. So in the IG zone, you can have daycare centers for employees on the lot already. But there aren't that many zonings where you can really have the independent building. And then another thing we ran across when we were doing this analysis is that we allow the adult daycare buildings in independent buildings in the residential zone and not the child. And one thing that we thought was interesting is like Bethlehem doesn't make a distinction between child and adult daycares. They just allow daycare buildings in actually 14 of their 15 zoning districts, only with a site plan. We're not saying that it should be just a site plan because, well, Niskuna usually takes a harder look at, things that, are a little bit more intense use than residential. But we're thinking, our recommendation would be, and the planning board kind of has been looking into this, is anywhere that adult daycare is allowed in an independent building, child daycare should be allowed in an independent building, and vice versa, because actually there's a couple times where child daycare is allowed and not adult daycare. So it's just a very odd thing, and I was doing some research about it. The town has gone back and forth on this multiple times. So like in 1989, they passed a zoning law to allow daycares in all the zones, and then in 98, they pulled back a little. And so the other thing when I went to start and write the code is that when they were flip-flopping a little bit on where to allow these things, sometimes they amended the text of what's allowed in a district, and sometimes they amended the schedules. And so they don't even always agree. So the main thing that we're trying to do is make them standard and consistent and allowable in more zoning districts. And then honestly, it's a little bit bigger lift than I thought it was going to be, but when I make the schedules consistent with the actual words. So we started the code just to give you like a sense on in the RR zone. You can see adult daycare in an independent building and adult daycare operated within the main building. F and G are both allowed, and so the proposal would be to add I and J, which would be child daycare and child daycare operated within a school, hospital, or place of worship. If anybody wants to ask about a Pandora's box, adult daycare operating with the main building, a school or place of worship, is a special principal use already written, like, I'm not adding it, but schools and places of worship aren't a special use permit in RR zone. So, like, the more I dive in, the more I'm like, oh my gosh. But but if we're just trying to make an even playing field, yeah. I did fill out an beginning of it's pretty easy for a zoning code amendment. Filled out the environmental assessment form, but there's still a lot more work. I got quite a bit farther on it today for the planning board packet, where I could I started color coding it so you can see where it shows up in the different zones and where it is in the schedules, because the schedules are inconsistent with these sections of code.
Laura, is the assumption here that these are independent buildings that already exist, or is it for existing and new construction?
Our code is usually not that specific because the special use permit is for the use.
Okay.
So, it's kind of like what we're looking at with the places of worship. Like, we haven't even discussed, well, I mean, I think there are actually guidelines for childcare and independent, like what would be the minimum lot size. I think that is set out in the zoning codes where they're actually allowed, like if the minimum lot size was 18,000 square feet or, whatever, that is more limiting. But it could be a new building, it could be an existing building. We do know that there's interest on River Road, like Kelt's Farm is built all those buildings. Originally, they were talking about they would like to see a child daycare at the corner of Kelt's Farm and River Road. That did end up turning into a single-family home. And then the idea for those two single-family lots that have no house that are directly on River Road, that might be a good place for an independent.
Right, but each one of those unique or each one of those would come to us anyway as part of the
Special use
process.
permit,
So
correct.
really what I'm sorry, Chairman,
Nope.
what we're asking to do is say, on a big picture, does this have an impact on the environment and the conservation? And I don't see anything, at least, at this point, where this potential change to the code would have a deleterious impact on the environment. I think each project that would come up would come through us anyway, and we
Correct.
would judge on each one of those projects, but I'm not seeing anything here that would, it's not like, they're gonna be chainsawing trees down as part of this.
Correct, yeah. And the thing that is strange is like already adult daycare is allowed in an independent building. So you could already have these independent buildings being built. They're just, for some reason, restricted to adult and not allowing the child.
Yeah. I think though, I tend to agree with you, but I think the town code should have guidelines of lot sizes and stuff like that. And
Well, it
since-
has to.
It has to.
Yeah.
And then like the other thing is there's probably state requirements that, in particular, if you have toddlers, there has to be
Oh, yeah.
X amount of space for playgrounds and stuff like that. So I think that the ordinance is a start, but there's a lot more details that need to be in it.
Yeah, so, and again, it's just a timing thing. I have progressed quite a bit beyond this,
Okay.
what's in your packet. So the town code actually has a section specific to adult daycare and child daycare, and it references the state requirements already. Our child daycare facilities has a requirement for a certain amount of green space and playground space. And we also have a whole section on care homes, which seem to be mixed in a little bit with adult daycare. So, and then we have nursery schools, which seem to cross over a little bit between child daycare and schools. So I've pulled out all the definitions that are anywhere in between. I've pulled out all of this, and I've pulled out those 3 sections of code to make sure that we fix them all, or well, they're all in agreement with each other. And then I actually think the hardest thing is gonna be to get the schedules in agreement.
Okay.
So that'll come back to you guys as a more complete package, but this is to be thinking about what I would mean to add the more childcare, like different types of making childcare. So like, we have a lot of childcare right now in people's single-family homes, licensed through the state, exempt from our zoning code, where they can have, like 5 to 10 kids at a time in their house. They're just treated like a single-family home. And then we do have a lot of childcare that is in special use permits inside of churches. We have a lot of them. And then we have the JCC. But we don't have a lot of independent childcare buildings. The only one I can think of is actually the KinderCare.
So I, thank you for doing this, and thank you for going into the weeds with just all of this and parsing it all out and trying to organize it and making it consistent throughout our code. So, thank you. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, you
I
push
glazed
one
my
leaf
eyes,
aside,
kinda
and then
glazed.
like,
My eyes, I was reading through this and my eyes started glazing over. I'm like, oh my God. Hats off to you, so thank you.
yeah.
Okay, do we have any more comments on this EAF? Okay, hearing none. Let's move on to discussion items, and we have a redesign of the Broadview Credit Union. Laura, do you want to fill us in on what's going on?
It's just more of a report, really, because you guys had those pretty strong comments on the Broadview Credit Union at the last meeting. We did bring those forward to the planning board and to the applicant. They did have a meeting with the town, kind of understanding, or just having a more face-to-face conversation about why we really didn't want it to just be a parking lot. We threw around some, crazy ideas. Metroplex was there, and they're trying to come up with something, like, we'll see where it goes. The bank has like a business incubation program, and I was just visiting some family in Juneau, and they have, which you guys have probably been to, they have, like, food truck parks and stuff where the food trucks come, and they're very, like, cute, and they have a lot of life. So, I mean, maybe they might look at something like that, or look at some business startup thing they might be able to put in the front, and then they can have still the parking in the back. So, we'll see. Or they're still exploring maybe like more of a, park in the front, but that's not allowed under the code, so it'd be better for them to avoid a use variance altogether.
Where are the food trucks?
In Juneau. But I mean, they have them around,
Alaska.
like. Oh, no, and
It's a parking lot right behind, yeah. It's called Juno.
yeah, Jengis isn't here, but, one of the things the planning board looked at, and I've never seen it in action, but I've seen it on a plan, is that, GE brings in food trucks, and they have like a little, like between the back of one of their really big buildings and their hotel, they have like this whole outdoor patio, and then they bring the food trucks in for their employees, and they rotate, and I guess it works pretty good. People like it.
Portland has a big food truck park.
Yeah.
However, the food trucks don't leave. They're permanent.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the way it is in Juneau.
I think they can rotate in and out, but generally speaking, they're parked there, which would be something that, if they wanted to do that, you'd want that, because it needs to be a principal.
Yeah, I wasn't there long enough to see them. I was only there for a week. They were not moving over the course.
Yeah, it's kind of a new thing that's evolving, but in some ways, it is a little bit of, a different, it's not as much brick and mortar, but a lot of times they have the string of lights like the Broken Inn did, so they put that out, and it's outdoor, so it's a little bit more connection and life to the city. I don't know if that's what they'll do. It was just something that we talked about.
Okay.
At least they're thinking creatively.
He was definitely thinking creatively when he left the meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Laura on that? No? Okay. Greenhouse gas emissions initiative. Last time we had a presentation by Jim. Were there any follow-up with him this last month?
He went, so that presentation, got emailed to the town board, and the town board did adopt the community greenhouse gas inventory at their last meeting. It was finished in time to submit the first Climate Smart certification, so fingers crossed. And, we did use it, we did finalize it, to submit the Climate Smart, Communities Grant application for sidewalks. Because that was what we were missing the last time that we submitted the sidewalk grant, so we tried. So, Jim helped me a fair amount, taking the community, emissions and putting it in to show that sidewalks would reduce community emissions.
Laura, quick follow-up question, and you know what I'm going to ask.
I don't think he ever put those in.
Yeah. So, it's not urgent, but it'll be a nice number to have in terms
Yeah.
of like how much cost savings is involved.
I think, I would say, and I really like Jim. He's been a very good consultant to work with. I've definitely asked him at least 3 or 4 times for that.
Okay.
I'll ask him again.
Couple of people at my workplace wanted to know if they can have a copy of that.
Yeah, so it is on the website right now, but it's the draft. We
Okay.
did change a tiny bit for the final.
Okay.
So I'll try and get the final on the website.
Okay.
But the draft is there. It's really close to the final one. So yeah,
Okay.
you can, it goes, because Ellen helps me do this. She comes over and we just sit and we get the website up to date. But yeah, it's on there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Several of us had assignments for the natural resource inventory.
So-
We've completed that or not?
Portia sent me her corrections. I did my part, and we went with some back and forth with Jim Nordgren, and it's at a good place. And was it last week or the week before? I made a little presentation to the town board, and the town board accepted the report and the full report from phase 2 of the NRI. So yeah, I think it's complete at this point. Like we have done what we set out to do. Laura, quick clarification. Like there is an email from 2 days ago from a DEC official. Her last name begins with a W, but I forgot it.
Brit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to respond to that?
No, it's really just a paperwork closeout of the grant thing. I got a 2-month extension, and I think it was helpful to have it adopted. So when I send the final grant paperwork in, it'll show that. But really, it's just me putting together the receipts of everything that was paid and submitting it back to the DEC. So
Okay.
I think you worked really hard and put it together, and I think you did a fantastic job at the town board presentation.
Thank you.
And I think it's making a difference because the first one was acknowledge and the second one was adopt. So,
I think the language they used was accepted.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it was better.
Okay.
So we're moving forward on it.
So regarding the closeout of the paperwork with the DEC, anything I can assist with?
No, I think, no, it's just a matter of putting all the copies together and sending them. The DEC is really great to work with on the grant.
Okay. So no action from me on the DEC official email. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashok.
Yeah, good job.
That's a big lift. Good job.
Yes, thank you.
And I did get comments from people that it's a really great document, and I did actually already share it with the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy, even though it was a draft, because it had some stuff in there about the rice sanctuary, so.
Okay, ongoing initiatives. Do we have anything to report on that? Speak up. We'll just do it this way.
So in regards to the composting initiative, so, all right, so in Niskuna, you have, we have 3 compost options. You can compost at your own home, and we, and, you know, and we have ways to help you do that. You can, we have a drop-off at the senior center at Niskuna. We created that with Kyla at the Cornell Cooperative Extension, so that is open, so you can go 24/7 and drop your compost there. You do have to fill out a form and get the code and know how to do that. And then the third one that we that I started is where if you are new to composting and you would like to compost at, you can try it and you can come and you can drop it at the Niskuna Farmers Market from 8:30 until until 11:30 every Saturday. And then, and that is it was from, I think, July 7th, and I think it's open till maybe October 17th. And so each week, when I go, or when somebody fills in for me, thank you, Laura and Vicki, for doing that while I was on vacation. So we are collecting the compost, I'm collecting the compost, and then I am weighing it, and then I have secured, I had a meeting tonight, so I will be bringing it to the Schenectady Urban Farm for, that's where I will be depositing it. So, so this is an initiative to try to just to get more people to compost, and without having to have the compost in your own home or in your own backyard, or if you don't have the ability to do that, and you come to the farmer's market anyway. And so, so yeah, so that is that's where we are with the compost. The Lomo is pretty much the same. we'll be getting hopefully we'll be getting the the seeds, at the end of the season to, to replant. And then pesticide-free I keep doing, but it's kind of difficult when you don't, when New York State has such a high bar of the pesticides that you're allowed to use. So
People
anyways,
still like the signs. I think I sold one at the farmer's market.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, people do like the signs, and they are still doing it, so, and I feel like as newer families move in with kids, less and less people are using pesticides, so anyways, so that's my report.
Okay, thank you. How about quiet in Niskayuna? Quiet?
I haven't even touched it, but
Okay.
I do want to know, Laura, if you have a contact for who manages like the town website. If we wanted to somehow put one of these page websites instead.
Well, Josh is, our IT guy is the main person, but really Ellen and I can just add, we add pages to the CAC website all the time. Yeah.
But can you build a brand new, I guess like a brand new tab or page?
Well, there is a Quiet Niskayuna tab. Like, we added
great.
one.
Maybe I should read that.
Yeah, but I think you were telling me that there's way more on the website, and like there's like email lists and stuff which we wouldn't be able to migrate over. But I mean, we could keep it in like a spreadsheet just locally. Yeah, I think that that if you share what you want to bring over, we can put it on that website. Like the Niskayuna Tree Council does have their own website, but they do a lot of really unique things with that website, like the photo contests and stuff, and people submitting their photos. Like, our website doesn't have that capability, whereas like the Tree Council one does, and they also like blog and stuff. But if the Quiet Niskayuna, if we can put most of that, static information on, I think we can migrate it over. Yeah.
Well, I'll try to do a comparison by the next week.
Yeah, it's in the, so if you just go to like Town of Niskayuna Department or Government, I think, and then Conservation Advisory Council, even Ashok, like the greenhouse gas emission inventory is in the greenhouse gas side tab. Quiet Niskayuna has its own web page too. The greenhouse gas emissions has got a web page. Composting has a website. We even figured out how to embed the YouTube video on the composting website. So if somebody's really interested in composting, they can go and watch the video, because even though that was when we were giving the compost bins away, it's actually a really good training video, and it's funny. Kyla's funny when she does it. It's great.
So sorry, so I did want to say that thank you to Kyla for and Cornell Cooperative Pension, because they gave us, I'm not, doing this all by myself. So she gave me the bin to carry the compost with, and she has given me 3 geo bins that I have raffled off, I think 2 of them, to people who put their names in a bit, and I pull out, and so for people to, so thank you very much to them for continuing to support composting.
Yeah, she's fun to watch. She loves composting.
Okay, Georgia, would you like to make a report? Okay. Does anyone else have anything else that they would like to discuss at the meeting? Yes, sure.
If there's a person interested in becoming the new youth person on our committee, what should I tell them?
Yeah, that would be great, because we lost Simran. She still comes and helps me with the seats. Simran did the minutes, actually. Really, they just need to send me the resume, and they get appointed by the town board, just the same as you guys. If you have someone,
And
that'd be great.
it's college and high school, right?
It's high school.
It's just high school?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
College people are considered adults.
Okay. Okay, I stand corrected. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Even though they don't feel like it.
It's very generous.
Well, you don't know that. Okay, if we have no other order of business, I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Ellen, did you second? Daniel, someone seconded?
Daniel.
Daniel did. Okay, all in favor of adjourning? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.